In this tutorial, you'll learn how to export a sitemap from anywhere in the world using Topo Export, and then edit and stylize it in Rayon Design in less than 10 minutes. Topo Export is a web app that generates 2D maps and 3D models anywhere in the world using the best available geospatial data, and honestly, it works wonderfully alongside Rayon Design. Links to try both tools for free are available in the description, so let's get started. Okay, this is Topo Export, and you can see here that we have our map of the world, and I can zoom into any area that I like. Let's take Frankfurt, for example, and I can select a satellite image. I can select 2D vector maps, so I can have those as DXF, PDF, SVG, and it has an array of these different elements, so buildings, railways, waterways, contour lines, or a 3D model. And then I can export that there. So let's take a satellite image, for example, preview, and then I can download my export, and I can see here, I can open my preview, and then you've got this incredibly high resolution satellite image, which looks great. So obviously I could import that directly into Rayon if I wanted to. Now let's look at the 2D vector map. So let's take somewhere in London maybe. Let's take the boating lake in Regent's Park, for example. Obviously I can change the window size. So from here I can toggle on or off the different elements. I can even go into here and decide where my contour lines are, so how many intervals we have for them. So let's do them every 1 meter, for example. And again, I can go to preview. Yeah, perfect. Right, and then let's download that as an export. And then that will just come out as a zip file, DXF file that I can bring into Rayon. Okay, and now in Rayon, so I want to go to import. So on the top right hand side, I'll go to my downloads and I'll press open. So again, I can toggle on these different elements if I want to. I can go straight to import. So this will just be converting that DXF. Here we go, look at that. So you can see the different contours. We've got building shadows, we've got the green spaces. It's a really detailed plan. And whilst we're in this window, it'll ask me to understand the scale of the drawing. So let's take a roadway, for example. That's coming in at 7 meters, so that sounds correct. So we'll press continue, and now it's in the Rayon model space. Let's just double check. Yeah, so that's coming at 7 meters. So again, I can look at my units down here, so I can change the length to millimeters, meters, or feet and inches if you want. So the next thing I want to do is look at the layers. So you'll see the layer comes in on an import, but we also have all these different layers which we can turn off and on. So we've got the buildings, the hatch for the buildings, building shadows. Yeah, you can see what a difference they make. Got the railway on, for example. Got our contour lines. You can see what difference they make. We've got spot heights, which obviously are really helpful. Road axes, road contours, road hatch, vegetation or green space, areas of trees, and even waterways. So now we've understood the layers, we can go in and we can edit things. So say for example I wanted to change the tone of this drawing, so how it appears. So I could try and find the line weights, for example. So you can see my styles have been set up here. I can go into these styles and I can say, you know, maybe I want something a bit lighter in tone to the line work. Same thing with these styles, so it's not quite as harsh. And ultimately, because I'm changing the style, it's changing all of those elements that are pasted with that style, for example. I could start turning layers off. Yeah, it's already starting to look a bit softer. I could go in and I could change some of the colors. I could go in and I could make the shadow slightly lighter. That makes quite a lot of difference. I can even go in and start to think about maybe my building. Let's say my project is actually on this building, so I could attach this style and I could create, you know, a more contrasting style here. I could detach that style and say maybe there's a dashed red line around the building, make that a little bit thicker. You can see that there. And I could even go in and start pasting some of these buildings with a different tone, which highlights, you know, that they're within the building's vicinity or they have an impact, for example. So again, I could detach that tone and say maybe these have a, you know, a more sort of orangey tone to them, like that, for example. And then I could save that as a style, so surrounding buildings. And then again, any of these buildings, I just need to use the picker style tool, and you can see there very quickly I can just go in and adjust them. And then because I've used a style, I could go in and say, oh, actually, maybe that color's not quite right. Maybe I want to knock it back a little bit, something a bit lighter. Perfect. I could even go back into this original style, edit this and make this, you know, make these a sort of slightly lighter version, similar to that. You see that affects all of them. If I wanted to, I could even go in and, you know, start cropping the edges of these elements. So for example, say I wanted to bring this boundary in, I could just select this line and press trim, and then that allows me to knock back these elements with their fill. You can see the shapes updating, the fills updating based on this edge. Trim again, and I can just trim my boundary line. Here we go. Clean that up. Perfect. Thanks so much for watching. Feel free to try it yourself using the free links below. Also, don't miss the next tutorial about setting up your Topo Export sitemap as a presentation directly in Rayon. If this was helpful, give it a like and subscribe.